Weird to say it, but this is the last week of the regular season. Don't worry, though. Everything's been decided since the end of August. Missed a week, felt like I missed a year. Thanks to Lana Rizzo for filling in, by the way. What the heck is going on? Can you remember a year this crazy? And it's not about, well, we can get into this later.
2011 comes to mind.
What was 2011?
When the Red Sox blew it and the Rays won on the last day, and remember the Braves blew a big lead that year. 2011 comes to mind.
Okay. This one to me, on the collapse side, Kratz, last year 14. I thought it was so crazy. Yeah.
14, the A's absolutely collapsed, allowed the Royals to host the wild card game. The A's were like traded Yoenis Cespedes, and then they collapsed. Had like a 10 or 11 game lead.
Okay. Well, I'm being told we have something special prepared, so let's charge the mound.
What a game. Charging the mound.
Yeah, the Mets are in. By the way, all you saying, the Reds, Mets are in. Four up in the loss.
I didn't say the Reds are going to get them. I just said they're in the mix.
I mean, not long ago they were 1. Now they're 4 back in the loss.
Raise your hand if you think that the National League wild card is done, right? Because we had the weekend with the Reds and Mets. Reds took 1. We're good there? Okay, cool.
The Mets are going to get in. As nice as of a story as everyone is in full panic mode up there in Queens, the Mets are in, okay? They're going to get in. There's, 10 games left, 11 games left for some teams. They're going to get in. They're not going to blow a 3-game lead.
Beautifully done by Frankie behind the scenes. The Mets and the Reds are tied, but they're not. They're both 80 and 76, but the Mets are a game back of the Reds right now. They are on the outside looking in. Do they control their own destiny? No, they don't. The Reds swept the Cubs over the weekend. They won 4 in a row. The Mets dropped 2 of 3 to the Washington Nationals.
Listen. The Mets, I'm going to say it right here loud and clear, the Mets are choking like gags, all right? I haven't seen this. This is bad, man. This is bad, and I don't know what they can do to stop it. I mean, it's not – listen, the Reds they're 4 games over 500, and they swept the Cubs in 4 games, which is great for them, but the Mets are 4 games over 500. That's it. They were like 25 games over 500 not that long ago. So this ain't on the Reds, which is great that they're still alive. And I had the Reds on Thursday, and Terry Francona was saying, like, we're in it because our guys ain't quitting. Yeah, they ain't quitting, but it also takes an absolute choke job by them. If the Mets were 10 games over right now, they'd still have a comfortable lead and be fine. They're 4 games over, and the fact that San Francisco, we can wipe off there. But Arizona, the fact that they're even still alive is crazy. Crazy.
The Diamondbacks legit have a shot.
I know. And the Mets got to go to the Cubs when the Cubs are just lost 4 in a row, so they're going to be pissed.
Yeah, and they have a chance to knock a team out that would be annoying for them to face potentially. Yes. The Diamondbacks have the Dodgers for 3 and then the Padres for 3. Not easy.
No, the Dodgers already clinched, didn't they?
Yeah, and the Padres, I got to look at the spots, but they might not be playing for anything at that point. I don't even know if seeding would be on the line with 3 games to go. Not necessarily, right?
Depends on how these go. I think their magic number's 3. So just depends on how these first 3 go.
It's a great point, though, Kratz.
Well, they're 5 up over the Reds and the Mets. So, I mean.
Right. So they have. What
they
about
they win 1 game, it's over. They get the 2nd seed. They get the 5 seed.
Right. They're planted in the 5 seed.
I think they have a chance to catch the Cubs, don't they?
Well, they're 3 back. Yeah. 3 back with 6 to play.
Right. So in 3 games, we'll know.
Yes.
But there's a decent chance.
Probably not going to matter.
It won't matter, which means the Diamondbacks will be having the time of their lives because this is deja vu from a year ago where the Diamondbacks were fighting for their postseason lives, and that looked like a team that should get in as they finished with 89 wins. This year's team's not going to finish with 89 wins, but they might actually get in, and a team that sold at the trade deadline. You know what? Long term, the trade deadline is going to get messier and messier. Last year, the Tigers traded Jack Flaherty, and then they ended up making the playoffs. Now, Trey Sweeney was helpful. There were helpful parts there, right? This year, we'll get to Cleveland later, but they traded away Shane Bieber. The Diamondbacks traded away Josh Naylor, Gino Suarez, Merrill Kelly. We're talking about teams that are in it now. So they're going to look to a season like this and be like, what if we had this guy?
Messier or more boring? I hope it doesn't
More
make
boring.
it more boring. Like, oh, we can't get rid of anybody. We're not able to get see what happened to the Diamondbacks in 25. I hope it doesn't I hope teams don't go the other way and just we'll hold on to everybody.
So it's a great story to have the Reds and the Diamondbacks involved in the final week of the season. But like AJ mentioned, Kratz, if the Mets weren't a dumpster fire for a couple months now, it would be a nothing burger in the National League, right? Like if you had the Mets finishing in the 500 mark over the last couple months, they would have cruised. They would be up a lot, right? They would be competing for the division still. And if you took the Mets out of the equation, right, the Reds and the Diamondbacks weren't catching the Padres in the position they're at. So this is two teams playing well right now, right? Cincinnati's won like 10 of 15, something like that. But it's also an absolute disaster. What is going on with this team? So let's take this weekend, for example. They lost 2 of 3 to the Nationals. They won Friday, I think, 12-6. They lost the next 2. They can never come back late in games. Juan Soto had a nice weekend.
Yeah, but Juan Soto keeps coming. Juan Soto got the broken bat hit, but he also comes up in big spots and doesn't come through. Like, it's like, ugh, right? And Francisco, I mean, he got the one broken bat hit on Saturday, I think it was, where he blooped it in. But then Pete couldn't get the hit to give him the lead, and then they lost in extras. On an inside the park homer, by the way. And then yesterday was announced. And then yesterday was unbelievable. The fact that the guy who jumped over the wall and then brought it back and then kicked it to himself. Like, the Giants were like, that's the catch of the decade? No, the dude who kicked it to himself, that's a way better catch than the other guy missing it and catching it between his legs.
Then he did another later in the game.
The game-tying homer, he brought that back too.
Yeah.
Jacob Young. Well, I mean, what a freaking defensive. But the fact that the Mets scored 2 runs? 2 runs.
That's what I'm talking about.
2 runs.
2 runs.
Although Jake Irvin and Brad Lord, or it was Jake Irvin and somebody else, whoever they faced, they scored 2 runs off of 2 starting pitchers that have over a 5 ERA. This vaunted, the reason that AJ and everybody on here said the Mets are going to get in, the Mets are fine, is because you figured they would turn it around. Maybe this is who they are. Maybe the beginning of the season was not the Mets, and they're just hanging on for dear life now because this is who they are. Or they're going to go and rattle off 6 straight wins. I don't see that happening with this team, the way they're playing, and the fact that they have to go play the Cubs, who also have to turn their own ship around. But it's crazy to watch them.
But the Cubs clinch, by the way. I don't care. Once a team clinches, I think
Cubs are pretty much locked into the 4 spot, which is fine. We're talking Mets. We got to talk Tigers.
Oh,
they had a 15.5 game lead. 15.5 game lead. And it's down to the nitty gritty now. I mean, if Cleveland wins this series, they win the season series and they're ahead, or they're tied, whatever it is. But this is like real deal stuff now for the Tigers. Like, they had a 15.5 game lead, a month ago?
Yeah, over
like
Cleveland.
August, in the mid-August?
Yeah, they had it was 14 over KC, but 15.5 over Cleveland, which is the team that's actually catching them. So is that a bigger collapse if the Tigers and the Mets don't make it? It's on the Tigers.
Oh, 15.5?
Yeah.
15.5 game lead with a month and a half to go.
Dude, on September.
And by the way, they got rid of all the guys they traded for and made all these moves for are all gone.
You're talking about Cleveland.
No, I'm talking about Detroit.
Oh,
Charlie Morton gone.
This
guy gone. No, I mean, they're like, feet.
They DFA'd Charlie Morton. Yeah, we actually, I saw a tweet. I'll find it while we're chatting about how many of the moves they made at the deadline and how much is turned into
Javi
nothing.
Baez has an 84 OPS plus.
Yeah. He gave him a lot of life early on.
He did, but he is, it is, oof.
Oh, here's the tweet. Pitchers acquired by the Tigers in July. Devin Smelter, gone. Jeff Hartlieb, gone. Tanner Rainey, who came up for Charlie Morton. Luke Jackson's gone. Paddock to the bullpen. Dobnik goes a money thing at AAA. Cody Hewer is gone. So Finnegan, Montero, Sewald, Morton's gone. Remember
Sewald just pitched one time, right? Because he was hurt.
Yeah, he's
so you can't really even count him. Finnegan's been okay. Montero's been okay, but ouch.
Finnegan's a prize there because they were able to resurrect
him. The best one,
but that's the thing. You look at their trade deadline. They essentially traded for one high leverage reliever in Kyle Finnegan.
Yeah,
that was their whole trade deadline.
That nobody else wanted in the offseason or at the trade deadline last year or this year.
That's a bad trade deadline. That's a quantity over quality trade deadline. And that was an unserious trade
thinking
deadline.
We're going to make the postseason because we have a double-digit lead, and we're just going to try to make some moves so it looks like we're doing some things, but we're really not doing some things because we're going to get into the postseason, kind of stuff. And now all hell is broken loose, and they are looking at it because they got to go to Cleveland, and Cleveland gives up like 2 runs a game. It's unbelievable what they're doing. But, I mean, the fact that right now, if you look at the playoff picture, the Reds are in the postseason is mind-boggling to me.
Ohio's going nuts.
And the Astros, too, by the way. The Astros are tied with Guardians for the last wild card. I don't know who has the tiebreaker. But y'all have to figure that one out.
Hasn't been figured out yet. They got to do the stupid intra-division thing, which, anyway, we'll talk about it at some point if it comes up. But that whole situation makes me angry.
I mean, and let's not forget, Seattle went in and whooped Houston's ass for 3 games.
They crushed them.
And they got their 3 best. They got Braun, Fromber, and Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
And they whooped their ass for 3 games.
Well, they had Wu, Kirby, Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
And they beat them.
But I'm saying, Houston lined it up, so they had their 3 best going.
Mm-hmm.
And they got their asses whooped for 3 games.
Braun was good. Framber got destroyed, and he's been shelled for a while now. And Jason Alexander, I mean, if you look at his pitch chart, middle. Like, it was like 0 command last night, and the Mariners pounced early. Back to Detroit for a sec. So I was just looking back at the lead. 15.5, I think, sometime in August. Let's get to September. We're in September. It's September 22nd. On September 1st, the Tigers were 10.5 games up.
That's what I'm saying.
3 weeks ago.
Now, I know the Guardians won, 9 or 10 in a row?
10 in a row.
But even if you go 5-5 in that stretch, if you're the Tigers, it's only 5 games. Instead, I think they went 1-9, and they picked up like 9 games.
This past weekend is a good example of why I do schedule watching. So the Tigers played the Braves. Braves are smoking hot. They've got some of their big boys playing right now. Matt Olson's having a 6 second half. Like, they've got a lot of their big boys in the lineup.
Figured it out.
Yeah. So do you want to play the Braves or do you want to play the Twins this past weekend? And the Cleveland Guardians took 2 of 3. Like, those look like 2 different teams right now, even though they're both crap records. Don't you think?
Yeah. Well, because you're getting Sale and you're getting some of the other big boy Striders rounded in a little bit more into form.
Yeah.
So you're getting some different guys, and their bullpen is still pretty good because they didn't trade anybody. You know, Iglesias is still back there. All their big boys in the Braves are still there. They didn't get rid of anybody. They didn't really do anything. They basically have the team that we thought was supposed to be good still sitting there.
Yeah, the Braves have won a bunch in a row now. I don't know what the number is, but it's been a bunch. Hold on. Or maybe it's – I think it's 7 or 8 in a row.
Who does what? Who hangs on, the Tigers or the Mets? Who has a better chance of hanging on?
The Tigers do, for me.
Because they play the Guardians?
Because they play the Guardians. If they win that series, it's basically over. If they win 2 out of 3, it's basically over.
And they're still in control. The Mets are out, like they're out of control
of any of their destiny.
They're playing good
no matter
teams.
No matter what they do. I don't think this team is playing good enough right now to rattle off 6 in a row, let alone 3 in a row. But they could win out and not be in.
Yeah,
that's a tough spot to be in.
Right, I'll say Tigers too. And good point here. Behind the scenes, 2 starts for Skubal this week, and we're about to talk Tigers at length in that series.
Here's the problem with that. He starts tomorrow, and then he's scheduled to start Sunday. If they got to use him on Sunday, then they got to go play a 3-game wild card. They're screwed.
He's out. Yeah.
Then he can't pitch till game 1 of the DS, which would be great for me because I'll probably be doing that series.
Oh, right. Well, if they make it to that series.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, how about on the Mets side? So you've got 3 against the Cubs, like we talked about.
By the way, McLean lost yesterday.
Yeah, he's their 1 now.
I know. He lost.
Well, bad run support, but yeah, he lost. Wait, how about this? After the Cubs, the Mets play a Marlins team that's also
only 4 games out.
On fire. They're on fire. It's not a fun team to play. They're on fire. They always give the Mets a hard time. And wait for it, they reshuffled their starting rotation so that their hottest pitcher can start on Friday. And probably his last start, or maybe his last start in Miami. Sandy Alcantara got bumped to Friday. Because it's fun. If you're the Marlins front office, you're like, let's screw with the Mets. It makes sense.
Our payroll's $20 million. Their payroll's $400 million.
Yeah. So this is just an absolute dumpster fire final week, and it's really entertaining for most baseball fans. The Mets have a $340 million payroll.
You know what? It's been great because a month ago we were saying it's over. All the races are decided except for seeding. We weren't counting in two of the ultimate gag jobs of all time. I'm sorry.
There's two.
Just listen, people look back in 2005 and we had a big lead on Cleveland and we got it down to like 2 games or whatever, but we never felt worried about it. I was like, we're always going to win this division, okay? This time, though, maybe because I'm not in the Tigers clubhouse, it just feels like something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. Maybe Tommy Kahnle needs to grab the whole team and shave them all and start over. I don't know what happened. We used to have like where we burn all of our bats together. Try something crazy. Because right now, if they lose tomorrow with Scuba on the mound, oh boy. You want to talk about some pressure on Jack Flaherty the next day? Wow. Serious pressure.
I don't know about you, AJ, but watching and looking at the scores, something in my chest like started to hurt for the Tigers. Like it like brought me back to times when like leads started to like dwindle away. Probably never really had an issue. And the teams never came back. Any team that I was on, we never like coughed up a big lead like this. But I just feel for the Tigers. Like I feel it. I don't know if anybody else can feel it. I'm not a Tigers fan, but like as an ex-player, like what those guys are talking about, thinking about, it's probably worse what they're thinking about than what they're talking about because they're like, I wonder if anybody else is worried. I'm not going to say anything. Maybe he's not worried. And then everyone's thinking the exact same thing.
So here's how I want to finish this. We're about to talk Tigers with Cody Stavenhagen, and we'll ask him how we've gotten to this point, even if both of these teams get in, how we've gotten to this point of it being a mess of a final week for those two teams to have to scrap and claw to get in. We don't have a Mets guest, so I'm just going to say this on the Mets side. Sure, you can put some blame on the offense, especially in a game like yesterday, but I'm looking at them for the season, runs scored. They're 11th, and they play in a pitcher's ballpark. The offense has done enough. The pitching staff was built as a way, how do I describe this? In a way where
they're acting like, I'll say it, they were acting like the Brewers, not the Mets.
Correct.
That's what they did. They were acting like the Brewers, and they weren't acting like the Mets when it came to the starting pitching. Kodai Senga is in AAA.
Where's Frankie Montas?
Well, come on.
Yeah, but he also sucked when he pitched. That was one of the worst signings I've seen in a long time.
That was the Brewers signing.
Yeah.
Two of their biggest signings have piggybacked their last 2 starts. Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea. Obviously, you didn't know Sean Manaea was going to do what he's done this year, injury issue. But they're piggybacking 2 of their biggest signings. That's crazy.
Yeah, but you signed Clay Holmes knowing that you're going to have problems late in the year, just like Reynaldo Lopez for the Braves last year. This is all expected. So the Mets freaking blew it. They're saved by the youngsters coming in here. If they don't have that whole prospect talent base of pitching in the minor leagues, we're not even having this conversation. So anyway, let's get to the Tigers and how we've gotten to this point. Cody Stavenhagen watching every pitch all year.
Should we do a proof of life check?
Yeah, we're going to do a proof of life with Cody next. We'll check his pulse. When you think Fair Harbor, you should think soft. You should think buttery liner. But it's not just the bathing suits or the shorts. It's also sweatshirts like the one that I'm wearing right now, Kratz. It is stupid soft.
It's ridiculous that a shirt that can, 1, keep you warm, 2, be so soft, and 3, so lightweight, like the collar, everything. You don't even feel like you actually have a hoodie on, but you do.
It is a lightweight hoodie, and it feels incredible. So you should go get one yourself. Also, for bathing suits, for shorts, for whatever clothes that you're interested in where you want to basically feel like you're not wearing them, but you are, that's what Fair Harbor can bring to the table. So head to fairharborclothing.com/foul20 and use code FOUL20 for 20% off your order. That's Fair Harbor, HARBOR, clothing.com/foul20 for 20% off your order, and make sure you use that promo code FOUL20. Just shouting that out one more time for Fair Harbor, not foul. Foul 20 for the 20% off for those of you that are going to the site there. And I just wore some of their bathing suits over the week. They are far superior to the old school liner. Anyway, super chat time. Xander, clearly a Phillies fan here. Kratz, I'll read it. The collapse of the Mets isn't because they aren't good. It's because they weren't built for adversity. They were built for individual success. If it isn't going right, there's not any fight. Go Phils. Thank you for the super chat, Xander. I do completely disagree. I don't think they're showing up to the ballpark every day like, it's only for me. I think they're showing up to the ballpark like, why did a $340 million payroll rely on lottery ticket pitching?
That's it. That's why they went out and got, like, they're playing both ends of the spectrum. They're like, we want to go get the best, most valuable player who's going to bring the most butts in the seats and have a top 5 hitting season in Juan Soto. And then they're like, even though we still have money, we're going to go shop at the thrift store and hope we find something in pitchers. All big league pitchers. But you got to have horses. You can't hope and wish on your pitching, on your rotation.
By the way, where's our Tiger guy? Where's our Tiger guy that's always in the chat saying we don't talk Tigers when we're talking about the Tigers?
He
ain't here no more. Yeah,
Sean's watching today. Sean, you're watching.
He should be not watching ever. The way he acts sometimes.
Do you know the threats we got at the beginning of the year? Like, there was one fan in particular who demanded that he would not stop DMing us from different accounts unless we sent an apology for not saying the Mets had a brilliant starting staff.
I wasn't even allowed to respond.
He stopped messaging us.
They kicked me out.
Here we go. Tiger Territory host and the athletic beat reporter on the Tigers, Cody Stavenhagen, joining us right now. Cody, do the Tigers have a pulse?
I think they have a pulse, but it's getting lighter by the day, right? I mean, this has gotten bad. I've never seen anything like it. I don't really know how to describe it. I don't have a lot else to say. It has been a very bad stretch of baseball. They're not getting any breaks. Their roster's turned into a mess. Now they're fighting for their lives.
Before we get into like the team and the issues and the problems and the questions, is this the worst off day that you can remember for this team? In the sense that they have to wake up today and not play a game, staring at the fact that they've been 1-9 in their last 10. Or is this the best off day possible? Regroup, everybody's ready to go, and it's a fresh day tomorrow with your ace on the hill?
That's kind of a good question, Erik. I asked Spencer Torkelson that after the game yesterday. Like, you have an off day. Are you going to think about baseball? Are you going to totally unplug somewhere in between? He said, I'm totally unplugging. He said, we're all just disconnecting, not thinking about baseball. I kind of hope that's what these guys do. I think they're spending their off day in Cleveland. So, Zach Meisel, my colleague, wrote some funny lines. Are they going to go up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and play a little garage band? Are they going to go out to the zoo? They should do something like that, because the more you press, the more you worry about baseball, the more you worry and dive into the numbers and the scouting reports. Doesn't seem like that stuff has been working for them. So I hope they're having a nice time and maybe can come back freshened up tomorrow.
Isn't that what happened at the All-Star break, Cody? And then I think they had a really bad start to the second half of the season. So are they sure they want to do a reset where you just float away and have a nice boat day?
That's a fair question. They had 6 guys at the All-Star game because, remember, they were really good in the first half. So I don't know. Maybe those were the guys who needed to float away on a boat somewhere.
Okay, so take me to the trade deadline, because we were discussing this. Were the Tigers smashed enough for doing a quantity over quality trade deadline? As I saw you retweet yesterday, I'm forgetting the name, but we can show the tweet again at some point here. How many pitchers were brought in and how many pitchers are now not on the roster anymore? So, like, when you add up all of the trade deadline, what did they actually get and how much did they miss out on going after big boys?
Yeah, they've been crushed a lot for the trade deadline, both at the time and especially now. They got Kyle Finnegan, who had an IL stint but has been really good. He's only allowed 1 run. Rafael Montero, one of these project guys that was like, okay, really? He's been pretty good. They've helped him get better. They really needed to add swing and miss to their bullpen. Those 2 guys have actually done a decent job helping. I think if you were to ask the Tigers and be like, well, why didn't you get a closer? They'd be like, well, you want us to get Ryan Helsley? He's been awful. And I think that is the thinking that led to this approach. Let's get a bunch of guys, throw it at the wall, hope a couple of them stick. Kind of a risky approach in itself, though. Is that really a better approach than just going and getting a couple dudes who throw 100 and are really hard to hit? I think that's the big question here. But the worst thing they did was go get 2 starters, Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock. Both came relatively inexpensive. And Morton's no longer on the team. Chris Paddock's been demoted to the bullpen. He's hanging on by a thread. I was one of few banging the drum for, like, you need to reinforce this rotation. You're an injury away from being in a bad spot. Reese Olson got hurt. You got 2 guys. One of them was 41, came to you with an ERA around 6. The other, Chris Paddock, just hadn't really been that good for a couple years now. They have failed spectacularly, and the Tigers have tried to kind of do the cute thing where they cycle in and out a bunch of different pitchers, churn the roster, churn the bullpen every series. They did that last year and it worked. They're showing why that's not necessarily the most sustainable approach, because it hasn't worked this time around. Now you're entering the biggest series of the year with some relievers stuck in the option cycle and with a bullpen that just doesn't look very good beyond 1 or 2 guys.
Did this happen quick to the clubhouse? The vibe when you walk in there, did it happen quick where they're like, whatever, we got this. Holy crap, we don't got it. Or has it been like a slow build here through these last 10 games / 2 weeks?
I think it's been kind of quick. I mean, you can go back to June and the Tigers were playing closer to 500 ball than being the team they were in May. But they had such a big game in a big lead in the AL Central. It never really felt like it. They lost 12-13 at one point in July, and it wasn't great, but you look at the standings and be like, okay, well, this is baseball. They're going to snap out of it. And I think that was kind of the mentality, and they lost a couple games. I was with the team in Miami, and I was like, it feels oddly tense in here. And since then, maybe it's been slower since then, but the last 10 days, it's like every day feels a little worse, a little tighter, a little more quiet. And now you look up and you're fighting for their lives. So one of those things that happened gradually and then suddenly, kind of all at the same time.
Cody, how much of this, though, do you think was a lack, and I've said this, I thought they would turn around once they got it back in their division, is a lack of, I don't want to say focus because that's not the right thing, but lack of, immediacy in, like, we have to go now because they're like, oh, we have a 10-game lead. Oh, we still have a 7-game lead. We still have a 5-game lead. And they never were able to get that urgency and ready to go and the fire back. And now they have to try and find it. And a lot of times what you see happen is once you lose it, it's really hard to get it back for most teams. Can they do that?
Yeah, right. That's the big question. I don't know. I'm not trying to question the competitive character of those guys, and I don't envy them having to stand in front of the cameras every day and try to explain this when they're the ones on the field kind of getting their teeth kicked in right now. But they're being tested. That's the huge question. Can you turn this around? I do think there must have been some element of not coasting, but it's just different. When you're up 10, 12, 14 games, you're not playing with that pressure. You're also not playing with urgency. I think that must have set in subconsciously. And then you wonder, too, when your front office doesn't really go get you some real horses at the trade deadline, what message does that send to the team? When your front office and the coaching staff, they're bumping guys back to build in extra rest. They're kind of giving these retread pitchers tryouts because, hey, we have a 10-game division lead. We can do this stuff. What kind of message does that send to the players? And then all this builds up, and suddenly you're in a really, really bad spot on the verge of a historic collapse.
To me, I would kind of buck against that. It sends confidence. Hey, we don't need that many people. Maybe. We think what you guys are doing, even though they are all above everybody's norms for their career or their last 3 or 4 years, we believe in you. So I would kind of buck against that if a front office can back the current players on the field, that gives them a vote of confidence. But now you're in the case where a guy like Colt Keith goes down. He wasn't producing to this MVP level. Do they not have enough depth to fill that in? And along with that depth, you knew Javi Baez was going to come down from where he was. If the team was in another situation, would Javi Baez have played himself out of a position for the postseason in the way that he's played in the last 2.5 months?
The funny thing about that, Eric, is I've kind of been advocating for Javi Baez to play more because the guy who's been playing over him, Trey Sweeney, has a WRC plus of 1 in the second half. He's given you equal to worse production than Javi at the plate, and there's still some small things Javi Baez does in the field during the game that can be complete difference makers. Javi Baez has had a terrible second half. He's playing like the guy who we weren't sure if he was going to be brought back on the roster. But to your point, Eric, like the alternative might be worse. And the alternative beyond Trey Sweeney and the organization, at least on the 40-man roster, is nothing. They have gotten in a weird spot where especially left-handed bats on the farm, they don't really have anything other than Kevin McGonigal, who's in Double-A, and it doesn't seem like they want to bring up. And I don't necessarily blame them for not wanting to throw McGonigal into that situation. But yeah, the depth is thinned out. You had a guy in Jace Young who's on this roster, replaced Keith. Big time prospect. A couple years ago, they didn't want to block him. Whatever. His development has really tapered off. It's funny how I think every team probably enters the season thinking they have depth, and then you get to August, September, you look up and your depth can evaporate pretty quickly based on injuries, based on underperformance. I think that's certainly happened where now you kind of have two shortstops who might not be on a lot of other rosters or on playoff rosters, but you have nowhere else to turn.
Okay, so let's bring everyone in for a moment. I'm putting my dukes up for a sec to what Kratz said. AJ, chime in. If at the trade deadline you don't bring in a big boy, like if you're the Tigers and you don't go for a Duran, or we talked about even a bat because they had flexibility, a Geno Suarez or something like that, are you telling your team, hey, we believe in you, we don't need anything? Or are you telling your team, we don't want to trade any prospects, we're on the 10-year plan?
Depends on how you look.
If you were in the clubhouse and you're the Tigers.
If you're in the clubhouse, you don't care about the prospects because you want to win now. So you
Right.
don't care. So you're like, all right, well, they must think we're good. But at the same time, trust me, there are people that were complaining in their clubhouse that they didn't go out and make a bigger move.
Because even if you think you're really good, like you don't think you need any help in the playoffs, you don't think you need another big boy in the bullpen or
That's what I'm
another
saying.
bat.
There were definitely guys complaining about it. I promise you there was guys saying, why didn't we do more?
Yeah. How did you feel at the time, Cody, that the clubhouse reacted to the trade deadline?
It was hard to get a sense for it. And I think it's been a reminder that this is a pretty young team. This is a lot of guys who are still trying to establish their careers, trying to stay in line. If they had a problem with the organization, they weren't going to be saying that to me or anyone in the media. I did say at the time, like, maybe this is a vote of confidence in the guys in the group. But, man, yeah, like to your point, these guys want to win. They want to win the World Series. And I think they would know, they would feel better if they got another big horse in that room. One thing I want to point out, and it's not really a defense of the Tigers, but there's so much focus on the trade deadline. And there are a lot of other teams that were like the Mets that were more aggressive and it didn't work out. But the Tigers are getting blasted for the trade deadline in part because of other bad decisions they've made along the way. Alex Cobb, Kenta Maeda, they spent $25 million on those two pitchers. They got nothing out of them. They signed John Brebbia. They DFA'd him before the All-Star break. You add in a couple injuries. They didn't close the door, or they didn't get the Alex Bregman deal done. They didn't go after a guy like Ha-Sung Kim, who was available again midseason. Some of the waiver claims, victories they've had on the margins over the past couple years, haven't really been any of those this year. So then when you don't have that depth, when you have needs in the rotation and elsewhere, and you don't do it at the trade deadline, everyone's pointing to the deadline saying, hey, why didn't you do more? In a way, it's a function of bigger and smaller decisions for the past 10, 12 months.
Yeah, part of it to me is I do think front offices look at their biggest wins as those pickups like Kyle Finnegan, you can make a case for, right? Not highly coveted. Then he comes over here. They're like, hey, throw away more splitters. Oh, look what we did. And you can kind of brag about it. It's not as easy to pull off when you're convincing your owner for more money and for trading more prospects. So, Cody, do you feel like this front office is digging too deep into, bargain hunting versus going for a big fish when clearly they had that ability, right? They went for Alex Bregman. They just weren't able to close it.
Yeah, that's been their approach. Bregman's really the only big guy they have pursued in a serious manner under this current regime. And look, a couple years ago, you're still building up. You're trying to see what young guys you have. That makes sense. You were coming off a playoff run, and you added Tommy Kahnle and Alex Cobb and John Brebbia. Gleyber Torres was a pretty nice signing, had a great first half, has tapered off in the second half, but it was a one-year deal. They like their one-year deals. They like their flexibility. look, I know long-term deals are scary, right? There's some risk built in there, but I think the second half has shown that, like, hey, the matchups, the mixing and the matching, all that is great. There's a reason a lot of teams prefer to still just go get really good players, because sometimes that's the more reliable way to win games.
All right, Cody, we got to remember they control their own destiny. Take us to this week. They have Scooble going twice. It seems like I think they face Vibey, but it's not Cleveland's horses, their hottest pitchers right now. How does this week play out? To me, and we talked about earlier, it looks like it's the Tigers' advantage because they have Scooble going twice. Doesn't look great for the playoffs, but they got to get in first.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, you don't have Scooble going twice because you win some games and you push him off that last day in Boston. But Tarek Scooble is this team's great equalizer, their great trump card. He's the best thing this organization has going. And you're going to give him the ball in a big game and hope he can give you, 7 shutty or something to that effect. Help you get off this schneid. And then, hey, maybe you steal one more in Cleveland. Maybe you're feeling a little better about yourself. We'll see. You don't want to lose that Scooble start. They've lost 3 of their past 5 Tarek Scooble starts. But if there's anything to make you feel better, I think you're right. I think it's Scooble.
All right. I messed up. I thought Gavin Williams just pitched, so the Guardians do have their 2 best going. They have Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee. I thought he pitched on Sunday. I was mistaken. So, Tigers are cooked. My bad.
Well, they're getting a Guardians team that, is historically good in the last few weeks in run prevention. So, Cody, the rest of the way here, it's 3 against the Guardians. And then scoreboard watching gets really weird because at one point not long ago, it looked like the Red Sox were just going to kind of be firmly in one of those wild card spots. They're not. They have to finish strong. So we might get to that final series of the year where the Tigers need to win. And oh, wait, the Red Sox aren't cruising either. So that's their last 3 games of the year in Boston. So how daunting is this schedule here for them?
It's not ideal, but it's going to be some fun baseball. It's going to be some real atmospheres, some tense, tight atmospheres. The Tigers and Guardians play each other, fighting tooth and nail all the time. You're going to go into what could also be a big series in Boston with Alex Bregman playing third base for the other team. Yeah, I don't know if it's what you want. You'd probably rather face the White Sox or the Rockies right here, but this is what you got. It'll be fun. Last year I covered a team that overcame 0.2% playoff odds and had a historic run. This year I'm covering a team that is on the verge of blowing 99.9% playoff odds and having a historic collapse. So I'm so far out of the prediction business. If the Tigers went on, go 5-1 down the stretch and go to the World Series, it wouldn't shock me. But also watching this team for the past month, it wouldn't shock me if they end up being toast.
Yeah, it's crazy. You look at the run for Cleveland. They're doing this without Emmanuel Clase. They're doing this without Luis Ortiz to a lesser extent, but still. They traded away Shane Bieber. Just a crazy story that we did not expect to be covering this way. Cody, good stuff. Enjoy covering the week as a writer. It's fun to cover chaos. So enjoy that. We'll be watching. We'll be looking at the articles, and we'll be listening and watching Tiger Territory. Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Tiger Territory is going to be a roller coaster this week. Kieran, Cody, some Austin Jackson. Go check it out wherever you get your podcasts or, of course, on YouTube. We'll swing back. We'll go over the big thumping over the weekend. The Mariners taking down the Astros and a streak looking like it's going to end for Houston. Kratz, let's talk about Omaha Steaks, and it's not just steaks. It's chicken wings. It's smash burgers. Big deli-style franks. There are a number of categories that you can hit all in one place. They've been doing it for a long time. They're the best in the biz. And if you got a good filet, life's good, man.
But you got to finish every meal with some delectable desserts, too. They have those, too, to go along with these delicious steaks.
Apple caramel tarts on the list, among many other menu items to check out. Be the hero that orders Omaha Steaks and is the most popular person in your household. So get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, $35 off on top of that, use promo code FOUL at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. See site for details. Hey, this one stood out to me. So Fangraphs does all kinds of odds and percentages. Let's look at their numbers for highest World Series winning odds. The Mariners jumped to the top. 18.1% for the podcast crowd listening. I'll give you the top 5. Dodgers 14.8, Yankees 11.5, Phillies 11.2, Blue Jays 9.8. Are you surprised, AJ? Mariners at the top?
Yeah. But they're playing well right now. They're swinging the bat well. They made some moves at the trade deadline. Their pitching is pretty good. So, yeah, am I surprised? Yes. But they're also probably looking at a weaker American League thinking they got a great chance to get there. And if they get there, anything can happen. Right.
Their path could be easier or should be easier than the National League path, right? And you always
Especially
say...
if they're going to get Cleveland or Detroit. Possibly first round.
And you always say, hey, starting pitching generally is very much needed here. I mean, do the Mariners not have, at the very least, a top 2 or 3 starting staff in baseball for the playoffs? I know you guys talked last week. Hey, I listened to every word last week about the Dodgers, but the Mariners are right up there too for a postseason staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about ceilings. That's what you talk about in the playoffs. What kind of ceiling can this guy give you? Like, what's the best outing he could give you, no matter what happened during the season? And the Mariners are right up there. Losing Wu, that's big. That hurts.
Yeah, but is he out, or he's just missing like a start?
He's missing a start right now.
Yeah. Better than box scores. Let's spend a few minutes on the big Mariners Astros series from the weekend. So Houston had essentially just ended the postseason chances for Texas, right? Now they're really done. The Marlins really took out Texas over the weekend too. But we're looking at Houston like, oh, it's the Astros. You know, they're going through it a little bit at the end of the year, but they'll be okay. And they did that without Jordan, who got hurt early on in that series. They line up the pitching, AJ, and they got completely outclassed by the Mariners. They trailed the entire series. It was not really close, right? I guess the closest game you could look at was Saturday, which had one of the most memorable catches maybe in franchise history. Victor Robles makes the diving catch, and then they end up doubling up the Astros and winning the game 6-4. Otherwise, that one could have been tied. So you add everything up. I mean, that is a perfect weekend for Seattle, not to mention Cal Raleigh now at 58 homers, which we'll talk about coming up in this segment as well to see how many he finishes at. But how impressive was this sweep for Seattle, and how much do you like their chances of not just making the playoffs now and winning the division here, which nobody's done besides the Astros in like 9 years, but actually being able to make a run here through October?
Well, they can definitely make a run. They're more likely going to get a bye too in the first round. So they're going to be able to line everything up for a team coming in, whether it's Cleveland, Detroit, or Houston. And that's going to have to use all their pitching. So now listen, the Mariners should win that series and then get to the next round, whether that's against the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Red Sox. That's a different question. But the Mariners are set up nicely because winning this division really puts them in an advantage, because at the 2 seed, you get the time off, and everyone will say, oh, they get the time off. No, they can line everyone up. They can get everyone back healthy. And they should be favored to win the DS and get to at least the LCS.
Yeah, I think they're very well set up. I said on Friday I thought the Mariners were going to take 2 or 3. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros had swept them. I didn't see the Mariners sweeping the Astros, and that really puts them in a different situation. You talk about being able to get that, those days off. You can set your rotation. Where does that give you? That gives everybody that needs a breather that rest. I mean, I think it set them up for a really good run especially right out of the gate, being able to have the guys they want to match up against the team that they're going to play against.
And yes, we'll stay tuned on what's going on with Brian Wu. It's pectoral inflammation.
Never heard of that.
Yet on what they're going to do. Never heard of that?
Pectoral inflammation. So he has an inflamed. So they're trying to tell us that the pec is not torn. He just has inflammation in his pec. Shoulder inflammation, elbow inflammation, not pec inflammation.
Have you heard of pec inflammation?
I mean, I've heard of sore shoulders and sore lats and sore everything. I can't even get a sore pec. Guys in football tear their pec all the time.
Yeah.
Sore or inflamed to me is different than torn, because if it's torn, that is not good. So that's why I don't know.
Right. You're cautiously keeping an eye on this one. I get what you're saying. Also, sometimes when inflammation clears, you're able to see what the real issue is, and that could be a problem. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the good news for them is they should be able to cruise through the final week here with a little less pressure. Like, they're making the playoffs at this point. They're a few games clear of Houston. They won the season series. They should be making the division title a thing at this point. But will they have the Gilbert, Wu, Kirby top three?
Castillo.
Yeah, and Castillo and Miller are there too. But they have a clear-cut top three, don't you think, with those three?
Oh, Kirby hasn't been great.
For the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like had some brilliant starts lately, though. He's been a strikeout machine lately. No?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, Wu is the guy they need, because he's been their best pitcher by far.
Yep.
And then their bullpen is fine. Their bullpen's been good, but, getting home field advantage for them is a big deal, because then they don't have to travel. They don't have to travel east, and east has been a problem.
I guess you're right with Kirby.
Plus, I'm hoping to go to Seattle because the Bucks play the Seahawks on Sunday of that series, and hopefully I can be on the field for that game, because I'm thinking our game will start till later on that day, and then I can go to the 1 o'clock Seahawks game, which is right next to Safeco, T-Mobile.
You're a planner.
I can be the ball boy for the first half and then go to our game. I don't know.
You're going to pull off the doubleheader?
I'm going to try it.
Okay.
I can do it.
I like it. You're right on Kirby. Like, I'm thinking of the start on the 14th against the Angels, 14 strikeouts, 6 1/3. But earlier in the month he had 2 clunkers. That's why he's got a close to 6 ERA in the month. But last couple starts have been really good for him. They manhandled them, and also we saw some nice power in big moments. Looking at Sunday, for example, J.P. Crawford with the grand slam early on, Jason Alexander leaving a pitch middle for him to smash, and then Kyle Raleigh with the 58th home run of this season off the changeup. So he had the 2-homer game, in KC earlier in the week. So we're at 58. 6 games to go for the Mariners. Give me a number. How many home runs does Kyle Raleigh finish with? And we know he's going to play every game to end the year, right? They're not going to give him a day off and be like, oh, let's make sure he's rested and ready to go for the playoffs. Do you agree that he'll at least get at-bats in every game? He might DH in a couple games just to make sure he's fresh and ready for October. But he's playing on all 6. You guys are catchers, right? If you're in Cal's situation, he's going to get ABs in all 6 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where are we at?
Don't change it. That's what he's done.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it's the last week of the season. They might have some meaningless last couple games. Sometimes teams will rest players in the last game 60. Or 2. They're not going to do that with what's going on here, right?
Yep. He gets 60.
Okay. 60?
He plays the Rockies the next 3 games. He might 65 in the next 3 games.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he has a chance to beat Judge's record. He's 4 away from 62. It's not impossible.
That's a lot of home runs.
I know. I'm going to go 61.
Him and Roger.
Yep. 61 homers. It's amazing.
Can we talk about the fact that the Astros, we talked a lot about the Mariners being awesome. The Astros didn't hit very much. Second game, I think they had 10 hits. First game, they had 3. The last game, Zach Cole hit the dinger. Altuve had the base hit, but is their offense even enough to give them anything in the postseason? I mean, Isaac Paredes, I think he struck out 4 or 5 times in his 3 games. He did get a hit in the last game, drove a run in, and walked 1 time. Can you afford to have a guy who, when he's on first, it may take 3 hits to score him if you're not driving the ball out of the ballpark as a team?
The Astros are probably the most banged up team in baseball this year. There are many teams, right? Like, remember the Orioles owner, like a couple months ago, was like, oh, well, injuries. And that's why I'm like, there's plenty of teams dealing with injuries, much more than your team, okay? But Houston, no Jordan for most of the year. Kratz is talking about them needing Paredes down the stretch. I mean, he's playing on 1 leg. Jeremy Pena actually just re-aggravated an injury. What was that, on Saturday, the oblique?
He got pulled from Sunday's game before the game started. So he hurt it on Saturday.
They've lost a ton of pitchers. Hader's not in here right now. I mean, they are holding on. Zach Cole is like saving the day. They've gone through a lot.
They might not have the most injuries, but they have the most injuries to massive players. If you think Jordan's a top 5 hitter in the game, he's been out essentially the whole year. Paredes was leading the team in home runs when he got hurt. He's been out for the last, month and a half, 2 months. They've had some big names go down, and yet they're still right in it.
Yep. So we'll see. They're knocked out of the top spot. It doesn't look like they're going to take the AL West, but now they have to finish strong enough to take a wild card seat. Next up, we go to the glass half full. The Cincinnati Reds can win out and be a playoff team. C.Trent Rosecrans is going to run through the schedule for the week with us next on FT. Todd Father, you and me grew up in Jersey. We liked to collect cards, but the way the process got was ridiculous. You open up a pack. There's a bunch of cards you don't care about. Then you want to get certain ones graded. Takes forever, right? Then you want to maybe sell one. It's such a to-do. Arena Club has been the solution for us.
Arena Club has been a solution for everybody. You go online, go to Arena Club, and you check out what they have. Put a little cash down, and you might get one of the best cards that you've ever seen in your life, an autographed card. And guess what? If you don't like the card, easily you could sell it back and make a little cash. You never know what to expect. It's a cool way of doing it. You're going to get a surprise every time. And if you're into cards, this is something you really need to get into.
Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL like Todd Father's talking about with those slab packs. Every pack has a grail that's at least 20x the price of the pack. Check it out. Hey, we're back. Blue Jays have had a mad week, but it's actually a very happy week since they clinched a playoff spot, and not many people had them even making the playoffs this year. After a rough past couple seasons, they clinched. First team to do so in the American League, first team to 90 wins in the American League, and it looks like, AJ, they're on a path to have the best record in the American League.
Well, they should have the best record in the American League, and they should win this division. They're up 2 with 6 to play. I don't know what the tiebreaker is in that either. So there's too many tiebreakers nowadays.
I think they have it over the Yankees,
They have it over the Yankees, and they're 3 up with 6 to play. I mean, they'd have to go 1-5 or 0-6 basically for the Yankees to really get there. The Blue Jays are a good team. They can pitch, they can hit, they get big hits. They need some. They're trying to figure out their bullpen. But they've been a good team all year, and they're in a good spot, and they're going to host all the way through. They should. In the American League, and that's pretty awesome for a Toronto team, especially if they get to play in the Rogers Center.
I think sometimes we look at bullpens and we're worried, but then if this team has 2-3 guys that can pitch out of the bullpen that don't during the regular season, it could change things, right? It could be a completely different looking team. I watched old Trey Savage the other day. Sign me up for that.
Man, don't sign me up for that if I'm hitting. There's just an angle, and there's not a lot of video of him facing big league guys yet. I'm not saying you hide him this last week. I'm saying you make sure he is ready to come out of the bullpen. He could be a dude that gives you 2-3 innings because he's already stretched out. And from that angle, yeesh.
Hey, we've got our buddy C.Trent Rosecrans, who covers the Reds for The Athletic, joining us right now on FT. C.Trent, I'm going to start it this way because Ken Rosenthal has now coined the National League wild card race presented by the New York Mets disaster. So here we are. Let's talk about the glass half full portion of it. How thrilling is this in Cincinnati? Are fans kind of like coming back?
Yeah, it was it was funny. The first game of the Cubs series, Hunter Green goes out and was just lights out. Throws a shutout, flirted with a no hitter, 1-0 win. And afterwards, he said something that's like, yeah, it was great, but I wish there were more people here. And they kind of reacted. It was a good weekend for that. Decent weather, some other stuff going on downtown. Cubs in town, so a lot of Cubs fans. Um, Almost was good that it was Cubs fans because they were like, let's go Cubbies thing. And the Reds fans showed up to kind of try to drown them out. And it was a really good atmosphere. And so I think there's been some, and then we'll see how it is this week with no Cubs and the Pirates in town. But heck, if I'm a baseball fan, Skeens versus Hunter Green on Wednesday sounds like a pretty good game regardless of standings.
Obviously, we're talking about today. If the playoffs would start today, 3 NL Central teams would be in. Is that indicative to the fact that the NL Central has improved, or the rest of the National League, the Mets, have absolutely collapsed?
Oh, I think it's an indictment on the rest of the leagues. When you're talking about, you look at payrolls and you look at those kind of things. Preseason, everybody likes to kind of like look down on the NL Central, but year in and year out, they've got it. It almost seems like every year there's 4 teams you could put them in a bag and pull them out, and that's 2 through or 1 through 4. Maybe you can always pick a leader, and you always know there's going to be one team that's going to be at the bottom. Often the Pirates, often the Reds. So I think it's kind of indicative of the rest of baseball. I mean, really, how many good teams are there? The Dodgers, you're waiting on it, but they still have the 3rd best record. They're still in a fight for their division in the last week, and didn't everybody decide they won the World Series and when they signed Roki Sasaki? And I realized that he's been dominant, and it's ruined baseball forever. But you also have then like the Phillies are good. I wouldn't want to face the Phillies, but you don't want to face the Dodgers. But everybody else is kind of there. I think the Brewers are the thing with the Brewers is they never hurt themselves, and we're seeing how far that can go.
All right. So somebody that doesn't hurt themselves. Who's the Reds all-star star that's going to step up in these last 6 games to make sure they not only are at the finish line, but they get it across? Because Ellie right now is having a toughest stretch of his career. But who is that star that's going to step up? Because you can't hope, you get a little impact here, you get a little impact there. These are games when you're facing a Pirates team that is down on the mat, you have to crush them. And to me, that's when the stars come out and they dominate this next series.
I really like what I've seen from Noelvi Marte. He is a guy that has kind of had won't get consideration for comeback player of the year because of what he's coming back from, which was a suspension for steroids, and so those don't register. But even taking that away, when he did come back from his suspension last year, he was just awful. And, he came into spring training looking to make amends and knowing that he probably wasn't going to make the team. And this was a year after he was expected, almost pretty much handed the everyday job before spring training. He went to the minors, and it's funny, one of the big things for the Reds this year is they're guys who went down and took it the right way. And when they came back, they were ready. Will Benson, Marte, even Connor Phillips out of the bullpen. But Marte is a guy that was the key, really, to that the big Luis Castillo trade a couple years ago. And once he's kind of gotten to right field, when they added Key Brian Hayes, he's really just. It seems like the world is off his shoulders, and this is a guy who can really hit. And I think in the future he can be a pretty decent right fielder. He's got a great arm. He's a good athletic player. He just doesn't have a whole lot of time out there, so you see some of that inconsistency and inexperience at times. But I'm going to go Noelvi Marte. How about that for off the grid?
I like it because when a young guy gets popped for roids, you're like, how long has he been doing this, right? I mean, you don't know what to expect, and he has certainly bounced back. Okay, I want to do some schedule breakdown because we've got 6 games left for the Mets and the Reds. Reds went out, they're in, right? They're essentially a game up on the Mets. So this is just as much for Mets fans right now. Mets have 3 against the Cubs, then 3 against the Marlins, including Sandy Alcantara on Friday. Reds have 3 against the Pirates, but that is one Paul Skeens start, like you mentioned, on Wednesday. And then they finish with 3 in Milwaukee against a Brewers team that is probably playing for nothing, even though they're still not going to be an easy opponent. How do you size up the schedules remaining for the 2 teams fighting for that last wild card spot?
Well, I wouldn't overlook the Diamondbacks either. They're a game out, game behind. So don't overlook them. And I believe they have somebody and then Colorado.
Dodgers and Padres. Three against the Dodgers at home, then 3 in San Diego.
Okay. Yeah, I was getting them confused with the Giants. That's not easy, especially with those 2 battling each other. But still, I'm not going to count out the Diamondbacks. We've done that before, and that seemed to be a bad idea. But I think for the Reds, it could be tough. They struggled a little bit against the Pirates, and they've struggled mightily over the last couple of years in Milwaukee. That Milwaukee team, something to play for now, but in 3 games, after 3 games, they may not. Home field advantage throughout. They're close to clinching that. We'll see. The thing with the Reds is you have a pretty good shot just because of the pitching. The starting pitching has been strong all season. Andrew Abbott has struggled in the second half, but Brady Singer's picked it up. You have a deeper bullpen. The bullpen was an issue for a while, but if you go back to the trade deadline, like it was almost, a lot of people didn't understand the Reds' moves, and they were kind of going on the margins, and they did a hell of a job. I mean, you got to give Nick Krall and Brad Metter a lot of credit for being creative and it working out at the trade deadline. What that was Key Brian Hayes, which upgraded them at third base defensively. No question. I mean, that guy is. I had a scout yesterday talking to me, and it's like, he the only thing he could come close to is prime Nolan Arenado, and I've seen that. He's been just phenomenal, and a total change of scenery guy. That allowed them to move Noelvi Marte to right field. He's been better since then at the plate, seemed more relaxed. That solved some of their issues with the outfield and getting production there. Then they got Zach Littell into the back of the rotation starter, and seemed kind of weird because it was a team that needed bullpen help. Well, that moved Nick Martinez in there. And Nick Martinez is just a kind of a special pitcher in that he can do both, will do both, and has done both. And so that's extremely, extremely valuable and could be in a short series. And then the other one was Miguel Andujar, who came in to just crush lefties. He started off and crushed everybody, then got hurt, and he's kind of back and crushing lefties.
You brought up Brian Hayes. I was there on Thursday. Good seeing you. When Hunter Green should have thrown a no-hitter. Why wasn't Brian Hayes in the game in the 7th inning for defense? And also, I mean, I said it on the air, but why the heck were they pitching to Seiya Suzuki? He was the only guy that had any chance against Hunter Green that night, and they threw him a pitch that he could hit. And K. Bryant probably has that ball if he's in for Sal Stewart.
He does. He had a little, when you look at Key Brian Hayes, he's had this thing with his back for a while. And before the game, he was feeling a little stiff, and so he wasn't in the lineup. And that's why you had Noelvi Marte at third base. But yeah, it was Sal Stewart. Sorry. You had Sal Stewart at third base, and Sal's not going to make the plays that Key Brian Hayes plays. And you're right. And the other thing is like, I don't think Hunter Green was in a mindset to pitch around anybody. He didn't care. And you've played, both you guys. When a guy doesn't care, you don't want to mess with him. And when he is just so like Hunter was, that's part of it. And then, like, okay, as long as it's in the park, well, I'll get the next guy. And Hunter did that. But Q Bryan was good enough to come in for the ninth. I know Tito had said before the game he didn't think he was going to be available. But Q Bryan said he saw the chiropractor and felt good enough to go in the ninth.
Have you ever seen a play like what happened on that night? The 3-8-6 play but it's got to be the only one in baseball history, okay? But
it is.
MLB at the time was saying it was only
confirmed.
Okay, because at one point they were saying it wasn't off the first baseman's glove, and I'm like, well, then the guy was out, and there should have never been a play at second. It should have been a hit. So they kind of because once it passes a fielder, I know, but then you can get hit by the ball and all that stuff. I know, but it's ticked off his glove.
And the umpire told Spencer Steer that in the moment, but it did tick off his glove. So it was a 3-8-6, which, only one ever, which is just unbelievable. But yeah, that was one of those, and I think it was weird because I've talked to like everybody around that play, and it was just what was weird was that everybody stopped, and for that like split second, you remember that everybody stood looking for a second, like, oh God, is he okay? Because that ball was 105 off the bat of PCA, so you're worried mostly about a guy getting hit 105 in the helmet if he's. I mean, to put it bluntly, like if he's going to survive. I was there for Aroldis Chapman in spring training a couple years ago, or many years ago, and it's the same kind of thing where your first reaction is this guy okay? And have I seen something tragic? Luckily, he bounced back, and hopefully, the little bit that it hit off Spencer Steer's glove was enough to deaden it some or whatever. But all's well that ends well.
Hey, C.Trent, I've got one more for you. Let's say this team does make it. For fans of other teams that have not really paid attention to the Reds all year, how dangerous do you think they could be in October? I actually really like a lot of their young pitching, and I'll apply what I said about the Blue Jays to the Reds. The Reds can have a different looking pitching arsenal because they have a really solid 1 through 5 rotation in my mind. They're not all going to be starters. That immediately enhances your bullpen. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Zach Littell's done some of that in his career. He's not unfamiliar with it. We already mentioned how Nick Martinez has gone there and done that. And also one of the big things with this bullpen is been the emergence of Connor Phillips over the last couple weeks. This is a guy, again, a trade with the Mariners, a different trade with the Mariners. But he is a guy that has kind of had just a terrible year last year. Came up early, was okay, went back to the minors, made a small adjustment, and has just been lights out since. He's been exactly what they thought maybe he could be, and that's huge. And then Zach Maxwell, who couldn't throw strikes in college or in the minors, all of a sudden is your extra guy, and he's, I don't want to face Zach Maxwell. He's what? I mean, he basically wears Anthony Munoz's number and looks bigger than Anthony Munoz. So that's quite the it's quite the luxury that they have. Graham Ashcraft has looked good since he's coming back. Tony Santillan has been used as much as anybody. I think he's probably. I don't think there's anybody he was with Tyler. Rogers is at the top of the uses, and he still looked great. He came in last night and had a big inning to get the save. And then Emilio Pagan is a guy who is just nobody was looking at that at the beginning of the year, but he's just done a really good job closing. And so you just keep pushing that down where you have all these guys, and you have a Nick Martinez that can go a couple innings. I'm almost wondering, besides Green and Lodolo, you can almost like piggyback Singer and Abbott with the left-right, because Abbott's had not a great second half, and Singer has had a great second half. So there's just a lot of arms. And when you're talking about the Santillan and Pagan and Ashcraft, you have guys who are all kind of that Rays thing where you're coming from different angles and gives you those different looks.
C.Trent, great stuff, man. I'm excited to see how the week
Oh, and
plays
Chase
out.
Burns.
Oh,
Forgot
wait.
about Chase Burns.
Forgot
Chase Burns
the
coming out of the bullpen,
flamethrower.
too.
Yeah. Hey,
You know,
think
a guy
about
coming
that.
out throwing 101. I mean, the other night was just still crazy to me. Hunter Green averaged 100 miles an hour on his fastball over a complete game shutout. Just it was just stupid. It was funny. It was like after that game, I just walked by Emilio and I kind of joked. I was like, man, I screwed you out of a save. He goes, there was nobody down there who was going to be better than Hunter. There was no upgrade in the bullpen. And he was right. So it's one of those things. But yeah, Chase Burns is a guy that you can use in that David Price role back in when he was a rookie. They're being careful with how much they use him, but he came in for multiple innings the other day. And you just can't deny the stuff, and you don't have to worry about anybody seeing him more than once.
Circle of trust pitching stuff-wise, the Reds are up there with any team in baseball for October. When you shrink what your pitching will look like, it actually makes me think the last time the Reds haven't made the playoffs in a full season, I know, in a really long time, but the last time they made it was 2020.
13.
Didn't they not? What was it? 2014 was the last full season playoffs, you said?
13 was a wild card loss to the Pirates. 12 was when they, were maybe the best team in baseball, and then lost to the Giants, who made that amazing run. And then, but they haven't won a playoff series or a home playoff game since 1995. That's 30 years.
Was that Bowden GMing back then?
Maybe,
Probably.
or maybe it was right before him. I'm not sure. I was in freshman in college, or sophomore in college.
You said 1995? Yeah, it was Bowden.
Yeah.
That was Bowden. So we'll have to bring him back on this week to chat about that. But 2020, they made it. This was my other point. And from what I recall, they had 2 games. Pitching was nasty, and they didn't score a run, right?
Correct. And that was Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and more. And they were both just lights out, but the offense didn't get anything done. And I think there's a danger with that here. This is an offense that hasn't been great or consistent. And you could get in that same kind of problem, but you can also keep games really close because you have that kind of pitching, and they have a couple guys who can get hot. And if Ellie gets hot, he's been better the last couple of days. Maybe it's just one of those things that he can pop out because he's a difference maker, and he's always going to be somebody that everybody's worried about. And hopefully, for the Reds' sake, that he gets it going.
Ellie in the playoffs would be fun to watch too. Damn, I'm looking. I'm like, he's only had 36 stolen bases this year.
Well, and he had 18 home runs. He had 18 home runs going to the All-Star game, and he has 20 now.
Man,
And the 2 longest homerless streaks of his career.
Yeah, but he's not running like we thought he would this year either.
He had some leg injuries. He was
Right.
not exactly the same. He had a quad and then something else. I think it was a hamstring or something. So he's been hobbled a little bit, but he's also played every game. Started all but one. The one he didn't start was he had a flight canceled when he was coming back from his sister's funeral in the Dominican Republic, and started that day in the Dominican Republic. Had some flight issues getting to Cincinnati from Santo Domingo, and then that game got postponed and resumed the next day, and he actually got in the game, so he's played in every game. So I think that's, for him, it's really important, and the team knows that he wants to play every day, every inning, and that's just who he is. Maybe that's been bad in some ways for his longevity and his production, but it's also, you never want to discourage guys who will do anything to post. And Ellie's a guy who has shown this year that he'll do anything to post.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe he picks it back up here and lights it up and uses the legs in the postseason when limited time amount of games to go here. Oh, great talk. Great wrap up here of what we've seen from the Reds. Looking forward to the last week here. C.Trent, thanks for hopping on with us. Appreciate it. Have fun covering this team this week.
Oh, go Dogs!
He wore the hat for you.
I know.
I don't know anything about what's going on with them.
AJ stayed away in the nice part of the press box on Thursday, so I didn't get to see him.
He's so excited about the
from the
Miami
hoi
Hurricanes
polloi.
ranked, what, 2?
Mm-hmm.
Are the Hurricanes ranked 2 football? You love the Canes, right?
Yeah. Good. Way to go.
Florida team.
Huh?
Florida team.
I know. Way to go. Yeah, I know. I didn't see
Georgia
C-Trent.
rejects.
I was in the clubhouse. I was on the field, but
You guys didn't see each other?
I'm trying to
No,
remember Thursday.
Didn't see him.
I don't remember Thursday, honestly.
Had a nice talk
I
with
might-
Ellie.
or
Had a nice talk with Sal Stewart. Had a nice talk with Nick Martinez. Who else? Tito, obviously.
But no C.Trent.
Mm-mm.
That was the day I had to go get my daughter.
So he wasn't at the
So I
park.
did
he wasn't
Tito.
There you go.
So it was me. It was me, not AJ. I'll own it.
Wow.
I'll wear it.
I was there from 12 o'clock because I did the show from there.
There you go. Well,
Next time you have my number, you can just call me. We can get lunch.
exactly. Next time. There's always next time. We actually go
Not
to
this year,
Cincinnati.
there's not.
No, this year not for you, but we do end up
Although
in Cincinnati
maybe,
a couple times.
maybe Milwaukee
What?
this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I know Fox
You might-
picked up Saturday. Is a Big Fox Saturday's game.
Yep, true. So make sure your daughter has you doing something on Saturday.
Well, I will be in Milwaukee. She will not be.
There you go. All right, so maybe the two can reunite here this weekend. Thanks, C-Trent. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, FT fam, we'll be right back. Are you doing that this weekend? What's your situation? Oh, you're definitely doing Reds Brewers?
Milwaukee, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did they just pick up that game?
Last night.
Okay. And you did.
Well, it was in the works, but yeah.
Right.
What were you supposed to do? Or is that like considered like a flex game for you?
No, they wait till they always make a decision the last week. They're trying to, and then the other game is Rangers Guardians because they both could have a playoff. They wanted Red Sox Tigers, but because there was a weird thing, and I'm not going to get into we're too weird to get into. But
Yeah.
those are the two games.
Well, for Cleveland, that might be a playoff game, so they'll be watching in droves.
Reds too.
And for the Reds, same situation here. So that's good. And you were just there for some good luck for the Reds.
Reds and Guardians, we've gotten hot the last 2 Thursdays.
That's crazy. Look at Ohio.
Look
at Ohio go. And yeah, I'm not super dialed in on the NFL, but I'm assuming the Browns suck. Do they suck?
They beat the Packers yesterday.
Oh, so they don't suck?
Big upset.
1-2.
Big upset. Okay. Maybe I'm off on that one, but Cleveland, if you want to keep your heart from being broken, I would pay more attention to the baseball team. That's usually a safe thing to say. We do have a tweet that I don't really understand, but we could still show it since it gets really mathy for me. Annie Helbrin, per the Padres and MLB, this is from yesterday, right? Yeah. With the Padres win today, the Reds win and the Mets loss, the Padres can still clinch a postseason berth with a win against Milwaukee on Monday in the event of a 3-way tied 86 wins between Padres, Reds, and Mets. That's not going to happen because Padres have to lose a ton. Then the 5 seed to Cincinnati, 6 seed to San Diego, Mets would be eliminated. So there's all these tiebreaker scenarios that are popping up. The real one I want to know about more is Mets, Diamondbacks, Reds, if they all finish with the same record. You guys always ask me questions that I don't know the answer to. I'm assuming you guys don't know the answer to that one yet. The tiebreaker for those 3?
I don't know about those 3, but I thought they said, I thought the Diamondbacks were still in the whole intra-division thing. So they have to finish their games with, the rest of their games for the rest of the season. And it's intra-division. So how the Diamondbacks do against their division.
The Reds and the tiebreaker, Mets and Diamondbacks.
The Reds have the edge? Okay.
But the Diamondbacks and the Mets hasn't been decided, correct?
It's tied 3-3.
Wow.
If it's those three tied the Reds, I would feel like get in.
Right, if they hold a tiebreaker with
Mhm.
3. Yep. All right, let's hit hot corner quick. Let's just give a little cheers to some veterans who did things over the weekend. Nolan Arenado, first of all, probably played his last game in St. Louis, although I feel like they're talking about it as if it's a done deal. They let him start the game and then come out and get the applause from fans. It's not a done deal.
No, it is a done deal.
But he still has how many years left? 2, I think, on his contract.
There's no way they can bring him back.
But what if they come up to him and they're like, hey, dude, our best and only deal is to the Sacramento A's? He's going to say no.
Then they say, we're not playing you.
So they'll just bench him? Or will they pay him out? It's not easy to trade a player like this based on the contract. It's not.
I understand that.
2 more years. So they said goodbye. They gave him a nice goodbye. He has a no trade clause. And the teams that he wants to go to might not want him, right? I mean, he's always dreamed about going to the Dodgers. He's not going to the Dodgers.
I don't know why they did this. It was a weird.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
I mean, unless they just DFA him, which I don't know the Cardinals are going to do because
2 years left. 2 years left.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Do you think the Cardinals are doing that?
I don't, but they also want runways for their young kids to play. So listen, Heimblum traded Mookie Betts at one time. He can figure out a way to trade Arenado.
Yeah. Also, I do want to say he's still.
Listen, they might have to trade him and eat some money, a bunch of money.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna have to, but they might have to eat like 85% of the contract. I mean, he's still a major league player, but teams know they
haven't eat 100% of it.
I agree. He's still a major league player. Like he has not had a great year, and he's been injured half the year.
2 years in a row that have been down.
Right, but still, is he a major league player? I think he is, but I don't know if is he a first division third baseman, like for a top 5 to 7 team? Not necessarily. And if he wants to go to one of those teams,
he hasn't hidden that fact.
There's
Where's
no
Max
chance.
Muncy at?
He's still got at least a year left, and Max Muncy is arguably the most valuable player in the lineup. So do you think it was, I don't want to say weird, Kratz, but it's not an easy guy to trade.
You're saying maybe they didn't read the room and they got the cart before the horse there by giving the whole like, hey, you'll start the game, you won't even get in at bat, and we'll pull you off the field kind of thing?
We did this last year. Did we not do this last year? Where in the offseason we were like, oh, well, he's definitely getting dealt.
He did get dealt. He just said no.
Right. So that could happen again. And it could be to a place where he is really not interested in going, and then it gets awkward again. And he's like, I want to go here. And they're like, well, they don't want you.
Is he better than Ke'Bryan Hayes?
Similar. Ke'Bryan has the significant advantage at this point on defense, and I'd still rather take Nolan's bat.
Okay, so that's how much money the Cardinals are going to have to eat. I'm not sure where the Rockies' money is coming in there, but if you pay him $8 million a year, do you want $8 million a year for Nolan Arenado?
$3 to $5 million. That's what we're talking about. All right, but we can do this in the offseason. I just thought it was worth pointing out that it could get awkward again in St. Louis because it did for the past year. We're going to try to get Nolan on soon. I've been talking to him for like a year now to line it up. All right, coming up next, the legendary Tom Hamilton joining us on FT. We have a tweet on the Mets roster. We can show it. You can go right to it. You saw me squinting. I couldn't see it. Nats active roster. Do you know what the number is? Oh, now you see it on the screen. That's how much the Nats active roster makes, $28 million. The Mets active roster makes $246 million. But you know what, AJ? When you look at the sport at the start of the year, all you have to do is rack up the payrolls, and that's exactly how the season plays out.
That's what people said. Dodgers were never going to lose a game. They had Roki Sasaki, who's been a complete non-factor.
Yep.
You know, they signed Tanner Scott. He hasn't been good for them. There's a lot of things you can look at. The Astros have a really high payroll over the Mariners. The Mariners weren't going to be any good, and they are going to be probably the 2 seed in the AL. So Doesn't matter.
No fair that the Mets get Juan Soto, who has had a strong year. His numbers are similar to what he always puts up. 42 home runs is a career high for him. If they don't have him, where would they be? It would be terrible this year, no?
Yeah.
I mean, they've gotten a lot from their bats. My buddy who's a Mets fan, Lindor's got 125 runs, 100 steaks. Nimmo, 25 homers, close to 100 RBIs. They just weren't hitting together. Without Soto hasn't pitched an inning on the mound. That's what they need. So you're talking about the Mets, but this is the quintessential season where they brought out we need salary cap. And the season went, clearly we don't need salary cap. We just need teams that go out there to do what they can to win the games. It's parity. We have parity without a salary.
It is beautiful. Baseball has the best parity. I don't think it's close. Carlos Mendoza, Mets manager, joining us tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest.
Yeah. And my ultimate respect level is always for guys that join us when there's significant adversity. It could be a manager like this. It could be a player going through an injury, right? So anyway, looking forward to that. Coming up next, legendary Cleveland Guardians radio broadcaster Tom Hamilton, who is the best in the biz on the call and also super entertaining and is probably having a blast the last few weeks, joining us. Tom Hamilton is a longtime Cleveland Guardians radio broadcaster. He's a legend. He's one of the best in the biz. He's joining us right now on FT. Tom, great to have you back on the show. We really appreciate the time and look forward to these chats. What do you have for us on how crazy the current situation is for Cleveland?
Well, great to be with you. Thanks, Scott, AJ, and Erik. I mean, this makes no sense. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, September 4th, this club was 2 games under 500, 11 and a half games out of first. That's September 4th. And in 2.5 weeks, now they did lose yesterday in Minneapolis, but the club has gone 15-2, and they're 1 game out, and they go head to head with the Detroit Tigers, the team they're chasing, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. If the playoffs were to begin today, Cleveland would be in as the number 3 wild card team because they own the tiebreaker over the Houston Astros. And, the old adage that this is why you play 162 couldn't be more appropriate than it is for this ball club right now. But did anyone see this coming? Absolutely not. But when you have a pitching staff that now has gone 17 consecutive games in which the starter has not given up more than 2 runs, that's how you have this kind of historic month.
Tom?
Yes.
All right. First off, let's go through now, looking forward, the rest of the games for Cleveland. Lay it out for us and kind of weigh the percentage chance of how this actually becomes a reality for them, starting with essentially a playoff series against Detroit.
Well, I mean, they have felt like they're in the playoffs since this month began. And they swept the Tigers last week. They didn't beat Tarek Skubal, but they won the game on Thursday that Skubal pitched in. He gave up 1 run in 6 innings. Tigers have moved him up. He is still going to have his 4 days rest, but he is pitching tomorrow night. That way he is able to pitch on Sunday if the Tigers have to win that ball game to get into postseason. Gavin Williams, who's been one of the most dominant pitchers in the American League that probably nobody really realizes since the All-Star break, he goes for Cleveland tomorrow night. I mean, look, the only way Cleveland can win these games is if they continue to get dominant starting pitching because they're not scoring many runs. They haven't during this stretch. That is not going to change. I mean, I would be stunned if at any point in the 3 games Jose Ramirez gets anything to hit. I don't care what the score is, and I don't think it matters what the situation is. He's the one guy, if you're AJ Hinch, you're going to say, I don't care if it's a scoreless game in the third inning, we're not pitching to them. So, if can Cleveland continue to do this? I don't know. It seems hard to believe you could keep it up, but why not? I also wonder if today is a reset day for the Tigers. They got swept at home by Cleveland and Atlanta. Maybe they needed this off day to realize, hey, we're still in first place, and maybe we'll see a different ball club tomorrow night. But they looked awfully tight, and you saw a lot of frustration last week when Cleveland swept those 3 games. And then you've got Texas. The season doesn't end no matter how you do against Detroit. You can't let Texas come in here. Texas won't have anything to play for, but that's still a pretty darn good ball club.
All right, you have to score a run to win the game. Contrary to other baseball historians, even if this pitching staff continues to do what they're doing, who will step up? If the Tigers take the mantra of Jose Ramirez is not going to beat us, who can step up in this lineup? I think there's only one other guy with an OPS over 100, OPS plus over 100 besides Jose Ramirez. I know Bo Naylor's hot right now, but they're not going to move him to be Jose Ramirez's protection, right?
No, I mean, Stephen Kwan has to keep being Stephen Kwan. He's had a really good month of September, which is kind of the norm for him in his 4 years in the major leagues. To your point, Erik, Bo Naylor had about as good a road trip as you could have as a catcher, catching a shutout, hitting 2 home runs in one game up in Minneapolis while catching a shutout. As you know, as a catcher, it doesn't get any better than that. They just have to get contributions from everybody. Kyle Manzardo has had a nice year. They need him to get it going again. I just think when you look at this ball club, there are 2 guys you circle, Stephen Kwan and Jose Ramirez, when you're the opponent. And you say those 2 guys can't beat us. So it's going to be up to these young kids to see if they can keep doing it. I don't think it's any secret that this is an offensively challenged ball club. And when they score 4 runs a game, that's a big night.
Are the fans going to come out? Before we delve into any more of the bullpen or anything like that, will do Cleveland fans know this is happening and how big of a series this is?
Yeah, probably didn't help that the Browns stunned the Green Bay Packers, and I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm in mourning yet today. I don't know. Talk about miracles. Browns winning a game and beating Green Bay, but that's a story for another day. But I hope they do. It's been a good year as far as attendance is concerned, but I think this has caught everybody by surprise when you look at what this club has done this month. So, you know what, Erik, when it comes to fans, I've given up trying to predict what they're going to do or not do. If they can't enjoy this, that's on them. I can't believe we're having this kind of relevant baseball with what this club has gone through, not only had a 10-game losing streak in July, lost 9 out of 10 in August. We're 15 and a half games out in July. And oh, yeah, by the way, you lose one of your top starters, Luis Ortiz, and the most dominant closer in the game, Emmanuel Clase, for what we all know is a gambling probe. And yet this ball club's overcome that. It's remarkable.
Hey, I mean, when I was there 10 days ago or so, I asked Stephen Vogt what's going on. He said this team just doesn't quit. They play 27 outs. He gave all the cliches. But there's got to be something more that Stephen Vogt does for this team. I mean, because, you look at him on paper and you say, all right, where's the offense going to come from? There's a lot of pitchers that nobody's ever heard of, including Cade Smith at the back end of the bullpen and some of the other guys, Hunter Gaddis and some of the other guys. So what does Stephen Vogt bring to the table that makes this team go? And can he win Manager of the Year like Pat Murphy has a chance to do back-to-back years?
Yeah. Yeah, I sure think so, AJ. There are an awful lot of similarities with Stephen Vogt and Tito, and that's not fair to either guy because Tito's resume has got him set up for the Hall of Fame. We all know that. I don't think the game has ever had a better manager than Tito, but in some ways there's a lot of similarities, and it starts with, I think, Stephen Vogt, like Tito, they're at their very best when the ball club's at its very bottom or at its worst moments. There's no panic from that office. And as you guys know that played, you take the lead from your guy. If you see your guy throwing stuff in the dugout and visibly being upset when a guy strikes out or showing panic, players see that. They pick up on that. You can't fool players. But Tito and Voter have that similarity in that they don't panic. They're at their best when the club is struggling. And then I still think it goes back to number 11. Justin Morneau made a great point yesterday. We were in Minneapolis, and the longtime Minnesota Twin, who's now doing television for the Twins, pointed out how on Saturday night, when Cleveland had back-to-back shutouts in that day-night doubleheader, and were beating Minnesota 8-0 on Saturday night, Voter took Stephen Kwan and Jose Ramirez out of the ball game with a couple of innings to go. And Justin Morneau on Sunday pointed out how he made sure to watch and that Stephen Kwan and Jose Ramirez never left the top step of the dugout. He said a lot of times I've seen a veteran get taken out of the game and he's back up the tunnel to the clubhouse and getting something to eat or relaxing or whatnot. He's done his job. He goes, when you see that guy, Jose Ramirez, still engaged with his teammates, watching that ball game with 2 innings to go that's been decided, he said, you have no idea, unless you're a player, what that then sends the message to the young kids when that guy is fully engaged like that. And boy, guys, there aren't many players like that in the game. And I think that has been part of why this club is as special as they are. Look, without Jose Ramirez, this ball club is in the lottery for the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, it's one of the best moves they made was getting him to sign that long-term extension. Of course, him agreeing to that long-term extension and not testing out free agent waters where I'm sure he would have been paid more. So let me ask you about this particular move, Tom. I thought that the Shane Bieber acquisition for the Blue Jays was one of the better trades because there weren't many big-time starting pitchers available. I'm like, that is worth the lottery ticket given the track record, and I do think he has a chance to make a major impact for the Blue Jays in the playoffs. The Guardians might make the playoffs and run into Shane Bieber. So I remember there was an interview, it was either Chernoff or Antonetti, who said, hey, this was like a week or two before the trade deadline. We think we're going to have a big second half. They ended up being right. Why did they trade Bieber?
Because I don't think they thought they'd be sitting here today like they are, Scott. In reality, if they thought that this was the case, Shane Bieber would be here. And, they have to, and that's the one side of this, when you're in a revenue-strapped market like this, as far as how much you're able to spend and how much you're able to make as compared to, say, a New York or a Chicago or an L.A., you always have your eye on the future as well as today. And they looked at it realistically. They really were careful with Shane Bieber. That's why Shane re-signed with this ball club, because he knew that they would protect him and not rush him back, much like they did with Matthew Boyd last year. And if you remember, then Matthew Boyd really helped this ball club in August, September, and October. And then it led to Matthew getting a contract with the Chicago Cubs. With Shane Bieber, he had an option to come back next year, but it was at his beck and call. He could opt in or opt out. If Shane continues to do what he's doing, and there's no reason to think he won't, he's not going to have that option picked up. He's earned that right to become a free agent, go out on the open market. And Cleveland felt like they couldn't take that chance, get nothing in return. They didn't feel really that they weren't giving up on the season, but they were also looking at it realistically and saying, we can get a top pitching prospect that's in Double-A that can help us here in the very near future. And that's why they did it, Scott. And that it's also why, and I think they have to get some credit for this. This is 13 consecutive years that this ball club is relevant. The 11 years that Tito was here, and now the 2 years with Stephen Vogt. Think of this number, guys. In those 13 years, Cleveland has played 25 games total in which they were mathematically eliminated. That's astounding when that's telling you you're in the hunt every year. And they do it because they're trying to win every year, but they can't be at all costs to win every year. but they're not going to do a teardown like some of these organizations do and say, hey, we're going to be awful for 5 years, but hope you come back.
I saw the inside workings of the organization when I played in 2017. They do it from the bottom all the way up, and it's the people that they bring in. So I have to talk about you as a person. Congratulations on receiving your award this summer. What does the Ford Frick Award mean to you? As I think it's for broadcasters excellence, I think is what the actual excellence in broadcasting. What does that mean to you that you receiving that this summer?
Well, it means, Erik, that nobody ever recorded us between innings because your career would have ended a long time ago. So I'm thankful to that. And you know what? It's very humbling. It's still very surreal. I thought I won the lottery, and I still do. The best phone call I ever got was January 12th, 1990, working in Columbus and doing AAA games. And the Cleveland Indians, and at that time, the flagship station 3WE called, offering you a chance to work with Herb Score and get a major league job. I mean, it's no different than when a player gets called into that manager's office telling him that you're going to the major leagues. That's the same way it was for me back in January of 1990, and nothing will ever top that phone call. So I've lived, in my mind, a fairy tale life for 36 years, being able to do Major League Baseball, being able to do it in one city, to raise our 4 children, and now we have grandchildren, but to raise them in one community. And it's a great place to raise a family. We haven't had to pick up and move like a lot of people have had to do. I was lucky enough then, because of the Indians, to be able to do Big Ten basketball on TV for 25 years. That doesn't happen if you don't get a major league job. But when you get that call from the Hall of Fame, that's beyond any expectation or any dream. I didn't get into this to get awards. It's still a little uncomfortable to talk about it, but it was an incredible week, and I just we're so very grateful. And it's been that kind of a year where you're like, man, never be able to top 2025. Trust me, from a professional standpoint.
Yeah, it is really cool. Well, it's much deserved, Tom,
Thank
and you're the best in the biz. And then really cool that you get this shocker final week of the season where you're essentially going to be calling playoff games. So we'll be looking forward to some great Tom Hamilton calls here over the next week. Thanks for stopping by.
Guys, love the show. Thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Thanks, Tom. You're the best. Appreciate you. That's Tom Hamilton, Guardians broadcaster. Be right back to go over the Castellanos drama. BetMGM free game of the day on the app. If you are logged in and you've got a funded account, the game is yours. You're probably betting on this game, otherwise not quite sure why you're watching the Cardinals and the Giants, 9:45 Eastern time. The other thing, though, is there's only 3 games tonight, which I can have my own little monologue gripe about. But one of the guys who does partnership deals for FT is a massive Giants fan, and he was poking fun at me the other day for calling the Giants run cute. Now we can again go back to calling it cute. It was nice. But as you said, AJ, the other day on the show, they are so freaking 500 for so long. That doesn't get you in. You got to be a little above it. Anyway, Friday's locks. That's funny. So Alana won on Friday. Everyone else fell. The day before that, everyone else won, and Alana didn't. So nice bounce back for Alana, going with the team she watches frequently in the Red Sox. Let's move to money bags. We've got 2 green and many that are close to that mark, including Trevor, AJ, Alana. I mean, when I left, Kratz was almost 2K down, so he had himself a week. Good for you, Kratz. Why don't you lead things off for us?
It's a good week. Not a lot of games to choose from, so I'm going to go with my buddy who had essentially an off day. He pinch hit yesterday, Christian Yelich, going up against Nick Pivetta. He's hitting .375 against him in his career, and I'm going a hit, a run, or an RBI, and I need 2 or more. And that's paying out plus 100. Yelly, get it done quick.
You putting down a hundo or 2 hundo?
Hundo.
Got it. Okay. What about you?
Over 4.5 strikeouts for Mackenzie Gore and over 4.5 for Pivetta. Mackenzie Gore, the Braves strike out a little bit. And then Nick Pivetta, the Brewers clinch the Central, flew to San Diego. There could be some hangover in there. So both of them just need to get to 5 strikeouts, and that's 187 plus 187.
Hangover strikeouts. And Pivetta has actually been one of the best signings from last offseason. Nobody wanted him.
Pitcher.
Yeah. Nobody wanted him because of the qualifying offer that was attached. Well, look at him now. By the way, 3 games on Monday night. I know, but there was Monday Night Football last week and the week before. Why is this week the week that they choose to only have 3 games?
Because they're setting it up for the end of the season, so they can play 6 consecutive games.
So everyone else plays 6
tonight, and then they're going to give.
Okay, just wondering because I'm like, damn, I'm just back. I'm like ready to kick in and do the whole whip around, watching a bunch of games, and there's what essentially. I mean, one of them is a nothing burger game, which I'm going to talk about later, but it is what it is.
Do you understand why you haven't been playing as much as you normally do? I don't really talk to Rob all that often, so that's just, I play whenever he tells me to play, and I sit whenever he tells me to sit.
So, the coaches or Rob don't sit down and explain to you what they want you to do and whatever role they want you to have?
Communication over the years has been questionable, at least in my experience. But also, I grew up communicating with somebody like my father, which is very blunt, direct, and consistent.
Okay, so that's Nick Castellanos of the Phillies saying that there has not been much communication with his manager, Rob Thomson. This has been an interesting year. Remember, he was sat for a game for some comments about being sat, for defense. Let's get the perspective of manager Rob Thomson.
As far as the communication part of it, if not only Nick, but if anybody else in that clubhouse doesn't think that I'm communicating enough with them, I'm probably not. I got to do a better job at it. It's just being accountable. But there's 2 ways of communicating, and that door is always open. And I'm not a mind reader. I can't tell the future. I'm not a mind reader. So, I urge players. I want players to come in here and tell me what's on their mind. So, but yeah, I obviously have to do a better job.
Did you tell him that?
Yes.
You said that he's done that, right? Didn't you say that there was a conversation before the series in New York?
Yeah.
I mean, is that common? For in this stretch for him, where he might say, "Hey, what do you got for me this series?"
No, it hasn't happened lately, but but again, if the guy's frustrated, I want to communicate.
Where do you stand on this one?
It's on both of them, as far as I'm concerned. If Rob Thomson can say, and he can come in, we could also go get him and bring him in and have a conversation with him. I mean, Nick Castellanos is saying he's used to this different conversations where you can go in. Listen, Nick is very honest. Nick is very blunt. Nick is very upfront. If you ask Nick a question, he's going to give you a real answer. So the guy asked him a question. And also, I want to say this. Nick Castellanos hit his 250th career homer, and the reporters were going after him about some crazy stuff. So, let's just let the guy be himself. And, he's probably frustrated, sure. But at the same time, he's doing everything he can, and they're trying to win a World Series. So the fact that they're stirring this up just seems like it's unnecessary. But I'm not there every day. I don't know. But, both of them could just go talk to each other and probably get this handled pretty quickly. We'll see.
Yeah, you would think that they wouldn't hash this out through the media, but I don't know that Nick's ever been in this situation either. Nick played 463 straight games before he got sat for what he had said. There's clearly some type of divide in his relationship and Rob's relationship. Nick said after all the badgering, he was badgered post-game. He was badgered post-game in the locker room. After a memorable night, hitting his 250th home run, he's like, We want to win a World Series. Why are we asking all these questions? So I think it was probably frustration that boiled over for him to say it, but it's also honest talk. Honest talk that, hey, you know what? You gotta kind of fix this before it gets to the media, and this is where it's a little bit of a rift between those two. Does it make the team is a team going to start losing because of this? No. To me, this team is focused with a bunch of veterans that want to win, and hopefully, when Nick gets in the game, he continues to do what he's done recently, coming off the bench. He's been raking.
Nick is, in my mind, one of the most interesting players in the sport because of what you said. He says stuff. So reporters are going to flock to him in almost any scenario because they know he says stuff. And sure, you could say, oh, reporters just looking for whatever you want to say, clickbait or some quote in a story. But also, AJ, the job of the media is to make the game interesting. So they're going up to Nick because he's interesting. Now, you can criticize the way that certain questions are asked, but don't you think it's part of his personality? Like, people enjoy going up and talking to him because you go up to many other players and they're like, blah, blah, next game, blah, blah, 100%, blah, blah, don't watch our sport because I'm so boring. Nick's fun. He's interesting. And he just told us, hey, I don't have good communication right now with the manager. I'm like, cool, okay. That sounds like real life. How many teammates did you play with who said, hey, I'm not getting along with the manager? Probably a ton.
Yeah. But go in and talk to him also. If you feel this strongly, you can always walk in there and have a conversation. So, again, I think this is on both of them. I love Nick. I love talking to Nick. Every time I do a Phillies game, I try to grab a couple minutes of his time because he'll be honest with you and give you how he really feels. And I appreciate him for that. Rob Thomson tries to do the same. We have our manager meeting. So this isn't a knock on either one of them. I think they just need to sit down, maybe go have a dinner or beer and talk it out and figure this out, because at some point Nick Castellanos is going to be important if they're going to win a World Series, and they need him on the same page, which he seems like he's done. So I don't feel like this has affected him at all, and it shouldn't affect the Phillies, but we'll see.
Part of the problem is, yeah, go ahead, Kratz.
I was just going to say I'm not in that clubhouse now or know the relationship specifically with them, but I know Topper and his communication, and I think that's one of the things that he actually excelled at over what Joe Girardi didn't excel at. Joe Girardi wasn't winning. He had an open door policy. These were Topper's words. The difference is he walks through the open door, and sometimes managers don't always walk through. They expect guys to come in to them. And I always felt like when I played for Topper, not as a manager, as a bench coach, his communication was top notch. It's different as a manager. It's different for superstars. So there's a different expectation for every player.
Yeah. People that are only listening to this, like say you watch on YouTube, but you do other things, well, you're going to have to go to the screen later and actually see that it was Pap trying to talk on a plane, which is not easy to deliver your pick that way. We'll show you the board in a sec, too. I think I'm the only one left. So I've got the Braves run lining the Nationals tonight. Nats coming off an emotional, big winning 2 out of 3 against the Mets. But I think the Braves are smoking hot right now. They've won 8 in a row. They just swept Detroit. I think they got a better team. I think they win by 2 runs or more tonight. I'll throw down 110 to win 100. They actually just swept the Nats last week, the Braves. They outscored them 31-10. It's Sale against Gore tonight, which is a great pitching matchup. Sale had 8 shutout innings last time against the Nats. I'll fade the Nats bullpen, even if Sale and Mackenzie Gore cancel each other out. So there's your picks. That includes Pap going over 7 runs in both the Nats, Braves, and Brewers, Padres matchup. And BetMGM players get an Any Sport Parlay Boost token on the BetMGM app. You can add that wager made up entirely of any sport wagers to your bet slip, activate the token, and if you win that wager, you get extra winnings. It's that simple. Got to win. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, come back to me for a sec. Just to complete the conversation on Castellanos, here's a question I have for you guys. AJ, let's say Nick sits down with Rob and he's like, hey, dude, I don't want to be taken out of games for defense, and also I don't want to be platooned. What is Rob supposed to say? I mean, especially now that they have Bader on board, but this was a problem even before that. The Phillies, and this comes from the front office too, have serious concerns about his defense. He doesn't rate well as a defender, and he's been a good offensive player, and he's had clutch moments. But what do you do when the team actually just feels a certain way and he disagrees with it?
You have a conversation, you be professional, which I think is what Castellanos is trying to do. He hasn't come out and complained publicly. I mean, maybe on something. I think he's doing a great job because he should be pissed because he's always played.
Yeah. We got a minute left, so let's go right to Kratz hats. I hope you're wearing what you should be wearing today. Oh, Guardians.
I'm not. Nope. I'm staying big league hats right now because it is a special week for producer lady, and she doesn't like my minor league hats, so I will not wear them.
Okay, there you go. Well, I'll finish with this little note. 3-year champs in minor league attendance. The Iron Pigs from Lehigh Valley, baby. Boom, boom, boom.
Prow, prow, prow.
How many times have you seen an Iron Pigs hat on this show, AJ?
A lot.
Over under 99.5.
Under, but close. A lot of Iron Pigs hats. I mean, they got the bacon hat. They got the porker hat. They have so many hats. Kurt Landis and that team have been doing it forever up there in the Lehigh Valley.
Congrats to them. All right, we're back. A couple things to cover. First off, at 3:30 Eastern time, we're going to have Baseball America Hot Sheet, and we're going to announce the Minor League Player of the Year award. So make sure you check out the show. JJ Cooper, editor-in-chief, will make the announcement, and then we'll bring on that player to the show live. So looking forward to that. Best player in the minor leagues, according to Baseball America this year, will join us in 30 minutes on YouTube, on the Baseball America YouTube channel. Coming up in a couple minutes after us, Dodgers territory, special guest Dalton Rushing, who's going to be pretty important. And so is Ben Rortbat, who I think is joining the show Tuesday? Isn't he joining the show this week? I heard you guys say that last week.
I set it up.
Whatever.
Friday,
he's joining the show this week. Oh, it's Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
So the news we didn't cover, AJ. Will Smith is probably going to be out a while.
Big blow for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Big blow.
But this is the thing. How good was he at the beginning of the year? In the last couple of years, he fades like this is an injury. But it sucks that they're not able to get Will Smith at the time that they really need him. I mean, he's one of the best catcher bats in the league, right?
Yeah, one of the best catchers in baseball. But that sucks. But the Dodgers are supposed to have depth. This is why Dalton Rushing has been up the whole year.
Yeah. There's some ILs. We didn't do injuries suck, but Kratz also Brandon Woodruff, our boy, getting hurt. Not sure if he's going to pop back up for the Brewers. That's a tough loss.
Huge. You want to see him. It's less team thing than more of like a him thing because of all he went through already.
Exactly. So those were two big ones. But yeah, Dalton Rushing joining next, and he'll talk about what to expect here for the Dodgers. He might be heavily relied on, him and Rortbat, for the playoffs for a Dodgers team that's World Series or bust basically the entire year. Also, last thing on the way out, Dodgers territory, yes, coming up in a minute. Clayton Kershaw made his final home regular season start on, Friday. So congrats to him, and obviously a crazy career. We had a lot of great coverage about it last week, and we'll obviously do a little more of that when he makes his final start, which could come in the postseason. Dodgers territory next. If you want to hear from one of the young, exciting catcher prospects in the sport, actually not really a prospect anymore, Major Leaguer Dalton Rushing joining Dodgers territory.